Look at this man for a moment. He sees connections everywhere, patterns nobody else notices, ideas that link across everything. He might be a genius on the edge of something brilliant, or he might be losing the thread entirely. The unsettling truth at the heart of this episode is, from the outside, you often genuinely can't tell which. This trait is openness to experience, the trait of imagination, curiosity, and a restless pattern-hunting mind. It's the only Big Five trait with a real link to intelligence. It's the engine of every creative advance that humanity has ever made, and it runs on exactly the same machinery as conspiracy thinking, esoteric magical belief, and, at its far extreme, madness. I'm Dr Nick Keca, and this is the final episode of our journey through the Big Five. We've done the will to work of conscientiousness, the energy of extroversion, the threat system of neuroticism, and the warmth of agreeableness. Today we complete the map with the strangest, most double-edged trait of all, the one that builds creative visionaries and cranks from the very same parts. And because you asked, we're going to go somewhere most of the pop psychology explainers won't. The connection between the open mind and the dark, disordered edges of personality. Then I'll close the whole series on the question every episode has quietly been building towards. Can you actually change any of this? Let's start with the paradox that should bother everyone, because it bothers the entire modern economy. We've never demanded creativity and innovation more forcefully. Every job advert wants innovative thinkers. Every leadership course preaches curiosity. The World Economic Forum ranks creativity amongst the top skills of the age. And in the era of artificial intelligence, genuinely original human creativity is being held up as the one thing the machines can't commoditize. Openness is a trait underpinning it all. It's the strongest personality predictor of innovative behavior at work. In the most comprehensive analysis to date, the link was strong and consistent across dozens of studies. It's also the only Big Five trait that tracks measured intelligence at all. And openness predicts higher earnings through what's called the cognitive premium, which, by the way, is the exact mirror of the penalty we saw in the last episode. Niceness can cost you money, cleverness channeled properly tends to pay you more. And yet, here's the paradox. Openness is a weakest and least consistent predictor of everyday job performance among the Big Five traits. Think about that. The trait the world demands most loudly is the one that, on its own, predicts least about whether you'll actually do your job well. Understanding this represents some of the most important aspects of understanding this trait. So what is openness under the hood? You can think of it as a pattern and possibility detector and the direction your attention naturally travels. In highly open people, attention drifts upward, toward the abstract, big patterns, broad ideas, what could be, the connection between things. In less open people, attention settles downwards, toward the concrete, what's actually in front of them, what's proven, what can be done right now. Neither direction is superior, and this matters. Sometimes you desperately need the person scanning the horizon for what's coming. Sometimes you need the person with both feet on the ground, getting the real work done. The open person is curious, imaginative, hungry for novelty, moved by ideas and beauty. The less open person is practical, grounded, conventional, and that's not a lack of intelligence. It's a settled, often wise preference for the proven over the abstract. And as ever in this series, it's the dial, not a tick box. Most of us sit somewhere near the middle, but openness has an unusually long tail, and it's out at the far ends, where the pattern detector is turned all the way up, that things get genuinely interesting and genuinely dangerous. Go one level down, and openness splits into two aspects that look quite different in real people. The first is openness proper, the aesthetic, imaginative side. Sensitivity to art, music, beauty and emotion. A rich inner world, the person who's moved by a piece of music or notices beauty others walk straight past. This aspect predicts creative achievement in the arts. The second is intellect, the idea side. The hunger for abstract reasoning, enjoyment of complex problems, fluency with theory and argument. This has been called the personality version of intelligence, the visible, trait-level expression of what an IQ test measures directly. And this aspect predicts creative achievement in the sciences. Intelligence ties to both, but especially to intellect. In a recruitment setting, saying we need creative people is a near useless brief. A design role needs high openness, the aesthetic aspect. A research or strategy role needs high intellect, the analytic aspect. They're related but distinct. Hiring for the wrong one, the dreamy aesthetician for the quant role, or the rigorous analyst for the brand role, will frustrate everyone. Creative is two different things wearing one hat. Underneath the two aspects sit 6 facets. The first 3 lean towards the imaginative, perceptual side. Fantasy is a richness of your inner world, vivid imagination, daydreaming, a taste for the hypothetical and scenario building. It's the raw material of fiction, of invention, and, remember this for later, of getting lost in ideas that aren't quite real. Aesthetics is the capacity to be genuinely moved by art, music, design, and nature. It's one of the most reliable markers of the whole trait. The person who stops dead in front of a painting or wells up at a piece of music is showing you something real about their openness. And feelings, and I want to be precise here because it's easily confused, is receptivity to emotion, how much you notice, value, and are guided by your own and others' feelings. This is not emotional instability, that's neuroticism, a completely different trait. You can be wide open to feeling, deeply moved, richly emotional, and perfectly stable with it. Feeling things keenly is not the same as being distressed by them. The next 3 facets carry most of the organisational weight. Actions is the behavioural flexibility, the appetite to try new methods, new places, new routines. Its low pole isn't dullness, it's a settled preference for the tried and true. The high scorer reorganises the whole process for the fun of it. The low scorer keeps a thing that already works. Ideas is intellectual curiosity, the love of abstract thought and theory for its own sake. This is a facet most tied to strategic and research aptitude, the person who actually enjoys wrestling with a hard abstract problem long after everyone else has lost interest. And finally, values is a readiness to question authority, tradition and convention. Its low pole, again, is not stupidity, it's respect for tradition, for the accumulated wisdom of how things have always been done. High values people drive change, low values people conserve what's worth keeping. A healthy organisation and a healthy society needs both. The lesson across all 6, openness is almost never one requirement. A brilliant strategist may be high in ideas and indifferent to aesthetics. A gifted designer the reverse. If you treat openness as a single tick box, you'll get it wrong every time. Now for another uncomfortable truth. We're constantly told that everyone is creative. It's a lovely, democratic, encouraging idea, but the evidence says it's largely false. Genuine creative productivity follows what's called a Pareto distribution, a steep curve where a small minority produce the overwhelming bulk of the output. Here's a rough rule of thumb. In any creative domain, approximately the square root of the total number of people does about 50% of the real work. So in a group of 100 people, only about 10 of them will generate half of the entire creative value. In a field of 10,000, that's around 100. This isn't a comfortable message, but it's an important one, especially for organisational leaders and team managers. It means creative talent is rare, unevenly distributed, and disproportionately concentrated in a very small number of people. Those few people are quietly carrying all of your organisation's innovation burden, and they're usually the first to walk out of the door when organisations turn political or start cost-cutting. If you lead, one of the highest value things you can do is work out who your genuinely creative people actually are, and then protect them, whatever it takes. Pretending everyone is equally creative is naive. It's also a great way to lose those who actually are. Now for a dark edge and what is one of the more fascinating findings in personality science. Remember that openness is, at the root, a pattern detector. Turn it up and it finds more patterns. But here's the catch that runs through everything. Not every pattern is real. There's a name for the propensity to see patterns and connections that aren't actually there, to get false positives. It's called apophenia. In small doses it's universal and harmless. Seeing faces in clouds, hearing your name in a noisy room, feeling that a run of coincidences must mean something. But ramp it up and it morphs into esoteric magical thinking, into ideas of reference, the sense that random events are secretly about you, into elaborate conspiracy theories, and, at the far extreme, into the unusual beliefs and perceptual oddities of the psychosis and schizotypy spectrum. This is trait openness's maladaptive pole, and it maps imperfectly and is genuinely debated among researchers onto what the diagnostic manuals called the psychoticism domain. In what is a beautiful and useful idea, researchers have framed the broad openness trait as a line running from madness to genius, apophenia at one end, raw intelligence at the other, the same pattern generating engine. So what decides which way an open mind will tip? The filter. Intelligence, the ability to test reality, to determine which detected patterns are real and which are noise. High openness with a strong filter gives you the genius, someone who generates wild original connections and can then separate the gold from the trash. High openness with a weak filter gives you someone drowning in patterns that aren't there. The visionary and the crank are running the very same engine. The difference, very often, is quality control. One important humane caveat: this is a population level pattern and the mapping is contested. The overwhelming majority of open, imaginative, creative people are perfectly well. And another reminder that this is education, not diagnosis. A way of understanding a trait, never a label to pin on yourself or anyone else. There's a second dark thread, and it connects straight back to the last episode. Openness and intelligence are not, in themselves, good or bad. They're an amplifier. They magnify whatever they're pointed at. Point the amplifier at building, healing, creating, and you get wonders. Pointing it at harming, and you don't get a clumsy, obvious villain, you get an inventive one. Researchers talk about malevolent creativity, the use of genuine creative ability to deceive, manipulate, and harm in novel ways. The original scam, the clever lie nobody's heard before, the elegant betrayal. Remember the manipulator from our agreeableness episode? High in reading people, low in caring. Now give him real openness and intelligence, and it becomes far more dangerous, not less. It's a sobering correction to a comfortable assumption. We like to imagine that bad people are stupid and that cleverness is somehow virtuous. It isn't. The most dangerous personalities are not the dim ones, they're the capable, charming, intelligent ones who can think their way around every safeguard, especially in loose, low accountability environments where no one's checking. Openness builds our cathedrals and our symphonies. The same trait also builds a better trap. The trait itself is neutral, what it's pointing at is not. Let's solve that paradox from the start. Why the trait the world most wants is the worst predictor of job success. Well, here's why. Openness generates ideas, it does not on its own finish anything. There's a trap that catches highly open people and you'll recognise it. The perpetual exploration trap. Idea after idea after idea, each one genuinely excited, and a graveyard of half-finished projects behind them. The novelty of the new idea is always more seductive than the grind of actually completing the last one. That's why pure openness, uncoupled from anything else, predicts so little real output. An idea that's never converted into a finished product has no value, which is exactly why this whole series matters as a system of thinking rather than a list. Openness needs conscientiousness, the will to execute, to finish, to do the boring final 90%. And it needs agreeableness, the cooperation to let other people carry the idea the rest of the way. The lone visionary, all openness and no follow-through, dies with a notebook full of brilliance and nothing built. The ones who change the world are either rare individuals who carry both the vision and the discipline, or, far more often, a visionary who has the humility to partner with a finisher. If you're the idea person, your most important hire or your most important habit is the one that converts a finished product. 2 last practical points before we close the series. First, openness is unusually situation dependent. It only shows up when the environment activates it. Put your most creative person in a rigid, norm-enforcing, this is how we've always done it team, and they'll become passive. They learn fast that new ideas get punished. Give them autonomy, psychological safety, and genuinely hard, novel problems, and that same person comes alive. If you're not getting the creativity you hired, look at the situation before you blame the person. Second, and relevant to the moment we're in, as artificial intelligence gets better at competent average execution, the rarest human capacity, the genuinely original idea at the far tail of that creative distribution, becomes more valuable, not less. The machines can do the average, they can't yet do the truly novel. This means that understanding, finding, and protecting real openness is a success-defining leadership skill of the coming decade. Now for your final self-audit of this series. Where does your mind travel? Up into ideas and possibilities, or down into the tangible and factual? Are you run by openness or intellect, the artist's eye or the analyst's? And the hard one, where does your pattern-detector serve you with real insight, and where might it be selling you patterns that don't exist? Let's step back because we just finished something. You now have the whole Big Five map: conscientiousness, the drive to work; extroversion, the pull of reward; neuroticism, the threat alarm; agreeableness, the warmth and the price you pay for it; and finally openness, the pattern hunting, world building, occasionally dangerous open mind. 5 dials, 1 operating system, yours. Here's the question every episode has been working towards, the one this entire series was built to reach. You've seen yourself in this map, but are you stuck with it? Is this who you are, fixed for life? The evidence-based answer is no. These traits are stable, but they're not fixed. They shift with age, they respond to deliberate effort, they can change with serious illness, and the science of how to consciously change them has come a long way. The puzzle, how do you deliberately reconfigure parts of your personality, is exactly where we go in the next series. As a quick reminder, as always, this is intended as education, not diagnosis. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and please share what you've learned with those close to you. Like and subscribe to my channel so the Personality Change series finds you the moment it lands. And please tell me in the comments which of the 5 traits surprised you the most. I'm Dr Nick Keca. This was the Big Five. Now let's talk about how we change them.